everybody. My name is Ryan Reed. I'm also known as DudeManPA on Twitter. I'm joined this week by Thom Cunningham, who is at _TJKC_. Thom, you are a statistician. Is that what I got off of your Twitter page?
Yeah, I have done that in the past. I've kind of had my foot in a lot of doors in sports media. So I do kind of use some of that skill work that I did in the past with this new job at VegasInsider, where we just produce content and update odds and get trends for everyone to make money. So I think that's what we're going to do today. So I'm real excited. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. I'm also excited. So I am one of the expert prognosticators over at Scores and Odds. We are always working on the grind and providing some picks, and everybody's been really crushing it. The football season's opened up real well. I'm excited to get into it, and I'm also really excited to hear exactly what you're going to bring to the table. I've been reading through some of your tweets. You got a lot of numbers to throw out there. I'm ready to get into it. Let's start right away with just go Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, tonight's Thursday night showdown that everybody does not seem to be excited about. What do you got there?
Well, I think there's a reason for that, and the point total might reflect that reason. 38 and a half is kind of what I'm looking at right now, but I actually like the under here. The under has hit in 7 of 9 meetings playing in Cleveland. It's also hit in 5 of 7 meetings overall. Cleveland, they've gone under in 4 of 6. Pittsburgh has gone under in 4 of 5. So there's just a lot to like about the under here. And then, Mitchell Trubisky versus Jacoby Brissett. So I think I'll take the under here as my best bet for tonight's matchup.
I am all over the under there with you. I slightly wish I had gotten this number a little bit earlier when we were at the 41.5 marker, but by no means am I afraid to go ahead and dive in on this number at 38.5. So I think that sounds great.
And then if you're looking at the spread, I think that's a little bit tricky, but I think Pittsburgh should cover. I don't know what you're feeling in this game, but Pittsburgh, they have a lot working for them here. The underdog has won 3 straight meetings. Cleveland is 0-8 ATS in their last 8 divisional games when they're the favorite. They're 3-7 ATS over their last 10 games overall, and they're 1-5 ATS over their last 6 games at home. So I do like Pittsburgh to cover. I mean, if you want to take them to win outright, more power to you. Overall, though, I think the under is the best bet. But if you like Pittsburgh, feel free to take them.
The only thing I think you didn't toss in there that I had on my sheet was Pitt was 5-1 ATS against Cleveland in their last 6 also.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it doesn't feel right. The teams, these are just not exciting teams. I like what you're saying. I see there's a lot of money coming in on the spread for Pittsburgh's side, but I'm not interested in that. Let's just go with that under. Let's lock it in. Pray to the gods that ends up coming through and we don't have a late defensive touchdown. Might be the only thing I worry about.
That's what I was wondering about, if Minkah Fitzpatrick takes one back in the 4th or something. But, yeah, I'll take my chances and go with the under here.
I'm right there with you. So that's going to be our pick in this game. We're going to move on right to the next one. We're going to go under in Steelers, Browns, under 38.5.
I like
Next game up, we're going to have the Ravens and the Patriots. So this one ought to be interesting. The Ravens, oh boy, they just don't want to slow down. The Patriots, I feel like, should always be a little bit better than they are. They still have Belichick in the back pocket. I know we don't have an exciting quarterback. We have a game manager, but Jimmy G is Jimmy G, and look how great he is for San Francisco. So what do we got going on for the Ravens-Patriots game?
I'm actually a little worried about Baltimore. I think a lot of people forget that they've actually lost 7 of 8 games overall, which does date back to last year where they were kind of injury riddled. But when you start losing that many games, it kind of subliminally leaks into the mindset a little bit. At least I'm a believer of that. So low key, this is a trend I feel like a lot of people might not even know. Baltimore, they are 1-7 straight up over their last 8 games. That does worry me. They're also 2-4 straight up over their last 6 road games. They're 1-4 straight up over their last 5 against the Patriots. I like New England here. I think they're fine covering. I'm not sure if they win outright, but I do like the number here. New England, they are 4-1 ATS over their last 5 home games. However, they've only covered once in their last 7. So I'm going to take the Gillette trends and the Ravens struggle trends here and go with New England covering.
Excellent. I'm always kind of a Pats homer at home. I feel like it's an advantage for them. They usually find a really good way to scheme against their opponent. There's one number I did have on my trends list that you didn't mention, and that is Baltimore is 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 games following a straight-up loss. So that one's interesting. And I don't like to let that cloud the judgment too much, but definitely one I had on the paper.
What I also am worried about with New England, other than the fact they've only covered once in their last 7 games, they've only won twice over their last 7 games straight up as well. So as much as I'm saying, well, Baltimore has struggled lately, New England has equally struggled as much. So in terms of my conviction, not very high, but I'll take Belichick at home to cover.
I like it. We'll take that. Let's move on to the next game. This one's an exciting game. We've got the Bills going up against the Dolphins. Are we down there in sweaty Miami for this one? Is that what's happening?
I think so. This one, actually, I kind of
yes, we are.
Over. I kind of like the over in this one. I'm not too convicted in either team winning, just because I feel like both Buffalo and Miami has been super impressive. But I'm going to go with the over here, and there's a lot that supports that. But most notably, Buffalo, they've gone over in 4 or 5 games when facing an AFC opponent, so they just tend to score a ton of points on their own. Don't be surprised if Tua in that offense could put up 20 plus, and Buffalo can put up maybe, close to 30 plus. So over 52, I think that's fine. I'll take that.
I think this is an amazing game. The only thing that always worries me is when you get the Nor'easter boys going down there to play in the soppy, humid, 96-degree weather. Maybe this is just me complaining about betting on the Patriots in week 1 after some turnovers that were taking away some points or taking away some drives and hoping they were going to come back, and they definitely looked to slow down in the back half there. Bills-Dolphins, I really like the Dolphins offense. I also really like the Bills offense. I really don't have any trends to support this, but I am going to jump in the boat with you on the over.
I'll give you 3. Buffalo over in 6 of 9. They're over in 13 of 19 road games, and they're over in the over is hit in 5 of 7 meetings between both teams. So I think the weather's going to be okay here in Miami. It's been a little rainy on and off, but overall, I think it'll be good weather to sling the football around for both teams.
I think that's fantastic news, and I am excited to watch that game on my Sunday list. Next up, we have the Bengals on the road at the Jets. Old man Joe Flacco doing his best impersonation of every other successful aging quarterback. How long can it last, and can it last against the Bengals?
I would like to think so because of how bad Cincinnati's played, but it's the Jets also. They're hard to trust. I mean, this is a team that's only, they've lost 28 of 35 games. That's too many for me to back, even if Cincinnati looks bad and the Jets are coming off a good win. So as much as, you hyped up Joe Flacco there, I'm going to have to go against him. I'm going to go with the Bengals to rebound. They're 7-1 ATS over their last 8 against the AFC. They're 8-2 ATS over the last 10. So although they have struggled their last 2 games, you got to give them a little bit of credit for what they've done in the past, or at least, I give them the benefit of the doubt in this game, only because it is the Jets. Cincinnati, they're 5-1 ATS in their last 6 road games. They didn't cover in Dallas, but now you're playing the Jets again. The level of opponent is just such a drop-off when you're talking about the defenses the Bengals have played. Pittsburgh, top 5 when TJ Watt's healthy. Micah Parsons makes Dallas a top 5 defense too. I'm not sure the Jets are that. I'm okay with Cincinnati if you want to take them to cover the spread here.
I'm actually all on board with that. What else do I have on my list? Cincinnati, 7-1 ATS in the last 8 games against the AFC. I'm not sure that really matters here. I really like what you were bringing up in the beginning. They had 2 rough games. The Bengals was actually one of my favorite futures buys this week. I feel like the market overreacted to the 0-2. They moved them all the way up to right around 40-1, which was just sort of and you could only really find it at one market, and everybody else was quite a bit lower. So that was one of the picks that I had this week. I definitely think the Bengals are ready to come back and get their first win of the season. Let's go with the Bengals to cover the spread. What's moving? What do we got down on the next game here? The Saints at Carolina. Mr. Crablegs against Mr. CMC. Baker's not a great quarterback. Let's see here. We've already got the Saints, small favorites on the road. That makes sense. This game does not sound appealing to me. Do you have a trend that's going to sway my opinion?
I mean, New Orleans should be fine here. Anyone crazy, I think, would take the Panthers. They haven't covered a spread in 9 games. I actually think the money line is cheap enough to take for New Orleans. They're 12-1 straight up over their last 13 divisional road games. So they're very comfortable in the division on the road. They're 4-1 straight up over their last 5 road games, 5-2 over their last 7 straight up. So I'm fine with New Orleans money line. It's like -130. I'll take that. So
I'm on board with the New Orleans money line. I don't know that we have really anything else to discuss on this game. Let's move down the list. Next, my favorite, the Detroit Lions coming up against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know why I'm such a Detroit homer this year, but I am. It's just the pricing. The prices were pretty high for them to win the division, pretty much anything. Everybody just expects them to only win 4 games or less. And I just gladly bet that they'll win more than that. I think I saw a Jets prop at 5.5. Sheesh. So what do we got for Lions-Vikings?
I think the over is fine. I think you'll see both offenses come out to play indoors. Usually means better offense just because of no weather elements, really. Minnesota, they're over in 7 of 10. Overall, they're over in 4 or 5 at home. Detroit, they've gone over in 4 straight games, and the over has also cashed in 4 of 6 meetings. So I'll take the over here, and I'm looking at that 51.5 with Caesars. That's a lot lower than the rest of those books. So definitely shop accordingly. For the
Absolutely.
over.
Absolutely. I do see a lot of those overs popping on my sheet as well. I think part of that is Detroit scores more points than the books really gave them respect for. And then the other teams end up running back on them late. And that's just the way that's going to go. I like it. Let's lock that in at Caesars over 51.5. Next up, our favorite Kansas City Chiefs. We love them in Denver. And they're going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who made possibly the biggest mistake in the offseason by picking up Matty Ice Ryan. He is definitely melted. He's not looking very good right now. He's Kirk Cousins in primetime football.
I got a lot of investment in this game. I went to a lot of Falcons games growing up, so I saw Matt Ryan play a lot in person, and I'm right there with you. The ship has sailed on him, and so I think it's a little bit of false advertising with the Colts entering this year in terms of the quarterback position. I also have the Chiefs as my survivor pick this week. So I got a lot going on in this game. I'm just going to take the Chiefs in terms of covering the spread. They've covered 9 of their last 13 games. They have won 17 of their last 21 road games straight up. The Colts are 1-4 ATS in their last 5. They're 2-4 ATS in their last 6 at home. So I'm just gonna ride with the Chiefs here. I have no conviction in this whatsoever, only because I have so much riding on this game. So I'm gonna take the Chiefs. It's my survival pick of the week. But good luck if you're betting this one.
Do you think we have a chance to hit the over here? I see that we also have the over at 8-2 in KC's last 10.
Yeah, 8 of 10 for Kansas City. Kansas City has also gone over in 5 straight road games. The one thing that worries me is when these two teams meet, they tend to go under. They've gone under in 5 of 6 meetings and under in 5 of 7 meetings in Indianapolis. But I do think the over, look, if you like the over, it's Patrick Mahomes. I would never recommend betting the under on Patrick Mahomes. So you want the over, I think that's okay.
You know, I feel like this is one where the trend maybe leans away that we're not very comfortable with. Indianapolis has been pretty inept on offense. It's been tough to watch. It hasn't been productive. I think I would skip. I would just ride you here with the Chiefs money line or the spread and maybe just watch. I mean, can the Chiefs score all 52 points by themselves? Not saying that Indy's going to get shut out, but maybe asking them to score a solid 24 is not where they're going to be.
Yeah, if Taylor gets loose, then they have a chance. But then they also have to contain Mahomes. So that's two big things that need to go right for them just to compete in this game. So yep. I'm fine with Kansas City covering. The money line's a bit expensive.
I'll be looking for the Nyheim Hines pass catches in that game probably. All right, let's keep going, see if we can get through this whole thing here. We got the Raiders going up against the Titans in Tennessee. What do you got on trends for this one?
Under. I think that's a good way to go here. There a lot of games go under in Nashville. My goodness. I said this a few times on a podcast. They had 38.5 points scored per game in Nashville last year. I believe that's the lowest in the NFL. I'm not sure if it is, but it sounds like it. The under has hit for Vegas in 5 of 7. It's also hit in 4 or 5 road games for Vegas. Tennessee, they've gone under in 6 straight home games. They've also gone under in 6 of 8 games overall. So I'm going to take the under here. It tends to hit in Nashville, so I'm just going to ride that trend.
Well, that sounds like a decent plan. It sounds, if I was the Titans, I'd surely want to give up less points than I did against the Bills last week, and I'd like to get back on the winning side of football, and that's probably going to become a slow it down, run the ball, grind the clock, more of a Mike Vrabel smash mouth home football game. So that makes a lot of sense that they also go under in Tennessee. I'm right there with you. Let's take the under. Don't forget to buy the best price, and let's move on to the next game. Ooh, my Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Commanders. I have a slight worry that this is going to be Carson Wentz revenge. And I do not think he's a great quarterback either. He has flashes of offense and then flashes of interceptions, and you're never sure which one you're going to get. I feel like this is going to be the week where he dusts us for 330 yards and 3 TDs and no picks. That's just because that's the way life goes. What do you think?
Well, he is better at home traditionally. The thing with Philly is that they're going to win this game, but I don't know if they're going to cover because they just don't cover in the division. They're 1-5 ATS over their last 6 games in the division. They're 1-4 ATS in their last 5 road games. And then you look at Washington, they're 4-1 ATS over their last 5 home games. So I think if you want to get really risky with it and go with a double chance here, a double exacta, and take Philly to win but Washington to cover, I think that's what's going to happen. So I'll take Washington to cover the spread because I'm not paying minus 275 for the Eagles money line. So I'll just take the Commanders to cover as the best bet for this game here.
I think that sounds like a reasonable bet. I've been watching Philadelphia Eagles for decades at this point. They always seem to play down to the competition and barely squeak out when they should just single-handedly walk over somebody or be a little bit. A 6.5 point spread is something they don't cover very often, is what I'm getting at. So that sounds like a fine bet in my opinion. Let's go on to the Texans Bears. Just because it's on the list.
Not for enjoyment purposes.
Not really. Another one where we don't have sexy quarterbacks. We don't have great offenses, but, we're still a football game, and sometimes these games can be some sneaky fun ones. So what do we got on trends that highlight something to gamble on in this game?
Yeah, and these quarterbacks, they're puppies still, so they're gonna learn. Maybe they'll get better. We'll see, but they're young, so they got a lot to develop, and that's kind of why I like the under here. Because they're still learning out there, and we've seen both these teams in the first 2 weeks slow offenses. Chicago, they've gone under in 8 of 9 home games when playing in the month of September. They've also gone under in 4 of 6 games overall and 4 of 5 home games overall. Then you look at Houston, under in 7 of 8 road games. Also, these two teams go under when they meet. 4 of their last 5 meetings has gone under. So give me the under here. Here's a hell of a trend you'll like. Houston 0-20 straight up over their last 20 games when taking on the NFC as an underdog. So if you like Chicago, feel free to take them. But I just think the under is a much safer play in this one.
Yeah, you're enticing me with that 0 for 20, but you're right. Sometimes that does it skews you away. And then we're also looking at the let's talk some numbers here real quick. We're looking at a minus 144 to pay for that money line when you're going to get the under, which you're equally confident in, much closer to the even money, probably close to 110. So that sounds good for Texans and Bears. Probably won't really have much money invested nor spend much time watching that one, but it's always valuable in the gambling market. Sometimes the best values come from the games you don't really want to pay attention to. And that's because nobody's paying attention to them, and that's why the money still sits there. All right, let's go with everybody's darling from last week, Jaguars up against the Chargers. What do we got here for the West Coast showdown? East Coast to West Coast, I know, is a trend that never plays out very well. What do you got on this one?
This one worries me. I'm staying away from the Chargers only because I don't know what's going on with Herbert. So that really throws a wrench in everything here. He's 1 sack away from leaving the game. So if he gets hit hard,
more fractured rib cartilage.
Exactly. So I don't trust this game. Jacksonville, they're 0-18 straight up over their last 18 road games. So, obviously the Chargers are one of the big favorites this week. I just don't trust it. The Chargers 9-0 ATS over their last 9 against Jacksonville. They're 4-1 straight up in their last 5 at home. It's just like everything tells you the Chargers are okay here. The trends, the talent, the eye test, everything. But it's this Herbert lingering injury. Like if he just gets hit the wrong way once, that could do it. So give me the over here. LA, they've gone over in 4 or 5 home games. The over is hit in 5 of 6 meetings, and Jacksonville has also gone over in 4 of 6 games overall. I know the Chargers have this new sexy defense, so a lot of people like the under with the Chargers, but I'm going to kind of go against that grain and go with some of these more traditional trends that have the Chargers and the Jaguars going over. So give me the over. Not a whole lot of conviction in this game, though, and it all stems from Justin Herbert's rib injury.
Yeah, I kind of agree with most of what you said there, and the over makes some sense here. And I think part of those 4 out of the last 6 games is just the maturation process that we're getting from Trevor Lawrence. He's had some more games under his belt. He's getting a little better. He's got a little more comfort with the team, the receivers, and that's just his growth. So the under makes sense for me. I think both teams put up some points. I think the Chargers still do win. Not sure about a -7.
And Peterson loves being an underdog as a coach. Like he thrives to just win as an underdog. So this one worries me a lot, Jacksonville. They worry me.
That is that backup quarterback's mentality. Doug didn't really start very long, did he? Before I just misquote him there. Either way, let's move on to 2 of the GOATs, the greatest of all time. I'm kind of interested in this matchup here. We've got Green Bay Packers on the road up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. I'm sure you've got some trends on this one, and I hope they all say that Tom Brady just wins at home all the time because I see a -1 spread, and I want to take the Bucs at home.
Yeah, I don't have conviction in it, but Tampa is the best bet in this game to cover the spread at -1. They're 6-1 straight up over their last 7. They're 11-2 straight up over their last 13 at home. They're 11-3 ATS over their last 14 at home. They're 5-2 ATS over their last 7 against Green Bay. They're 8-2 straight up over their last 10 games when hosting the Packers. There's a lot to like about Tampa Bay here. And also Green Bay, they're 0-4 ATS in their last 4 road games and only 2-5 against the spread in their last 7. So I'll take Tampa at home, but I don't have a lot of conviction because they have not looked good in their first 2 games. And no Mike Evans, maybe. So
not looked good in the first 2 games. Somehow still 2-0 against the spread in those 2 games. The Packers have equally not looked good. I think this is a good spot where we're going to get the Packers on the road and the trends support it. And I feel like it's an overreaction to the performance we saw last week. They played the Bears, right? Did I miss that game? I understand they finally put up some points, but it's the Bears. We just talked about how we didn't want to watch the Bears and the Texans. So I feel like this is one where the Packers are back and everybody's on the relaxed train, but I'm not inclined to believe it. I did kind of come into this year thinking that Minnesota was going to be the better team in that division. Maybe I'm salty that they lost to Philly. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my chances. Man, I never get Tom Brady right, though. I will be honest and say that. I bet that he was going to get old and slow. He doesn't. I bet that he's going to be great. He looks old and slow. It's very difficult for me. It's a tough one. So I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, and I'm going to ride that, and that's going to be my play for this game. So I'm glad we got something that supports that. And let's move forward to the Falcons going up against Seattle in Seattle, where the 12th man is the only man who wins a game.
Yeah, this one I have probably the least conviction in of like any of these games on Sunday because the trends are literally all over the place in this one. So if you're forcing me to make a pick here and I gun to head, make a pick, I'm going to go Seattle just because they're at home. The Falcons, they've lost 4 in a row. Seattle, they've covered the spread in 7 of 9 home games after losing the game prior. So they tend to bounce back really well at home with that crowd noise. Give me Seattle to win this game straight up. I don't have a ton of conviction in this. As the odds show you, the money line is a literal pick 'em. So you are literally just picking them here. I'll just take Seattle at home as the best bet for this one.
And that is totally fine. But while we're throwing darts at the wall, I've got nothing in this game.
I
didn't look. The only thing that made me think about while we were sitting here talking about it is Mariota does return to the Northwest, where he played at Oregon and ran for quite a bit of yards and touchdowns. So I'd be interested to see if we have a little Mariota hometown return narrative matchup here, and we get to see some lucky coincidental performances out of Mariota in Seattle. Not to say Seattle doesn't still win, but does he break a 60-yard run?
He could. I think he could, absolutely. But I think Drake London would be the player to bet around in this one. We've seen it in the first 2 weeks because defenses are so concerned with Kyle Pitt, and they don't really know about Drake London. And he's kind of shifty. He popped on the Heisman list around like week 9 at college football when USC was in the gutter. And so like this kid is legit. There's a reason he was the first receiver taken. If you're looking at touchdowns, reception total, receiving yard totals, I think Drake London is a fine guy to kind of highlight for this one.
That sounds good to me. Everybody get your props out for Drake London. I did also hear that one of our brethren are on, what do we got? Grant was on under Kyle Pitts receptions or something? Under 3.5, I thought I heard earlier today. I have to double check if you want to go into the Scores and Odds app and look and see what the picks are. I think that is what I saw. Oh, there we are. We do have Grant catching it at a plus 150, huh? And now you can still get it at a plus 140 roughly. I'd hop on that before it moves too much further.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, Grant tends to be pretty good at those props also. He makes all of us some free money. All right. Next one. We got LA Rams on the road at Arizona Cardinals. I know there's some interesting numbers out of this one. Somebody was mentioning them earlier today. I don't remember exactly what they were, but what do you have on your list?
Points is what I think we're going to see in this one. I really think we're going to see a lot of touchdowns. I think Kyle Murray will play well. The Rams defense has kind of been rubbish this year. And I know one of the touchdowns from Atlanta was a punt block last week, which kind of, inflated the score a little bit in terms of what their defense was allowing. But they let Atlanta go up and down the field multiple times in that game. They didn't look good in week 1 against Buffalo. And the over, a lot of trends support it. Arizona over in 4 or 5 home games. LA over in 4 or 5 road opening games. This is their first road game of the season. The Rams are over in 4 of 6 road games overall. And the over is hitting 4 of 6 meetings between these two teams. So I think the offenses will come out in this one.
That sounds reasonable. They both have decent offenses, and I do expect some points here. Some other things I'm seeing on the list is we have Arizona is 0-6 ATS in the last 6 home games. And then we've got the Rams, they were 7-0 ATS in its last 7 games versus Arizona. And the only one that kind of bucks that trend there is the Rams are 0-4 in their last 4 overall against the spread. But it looks like they're handing the Cardinals their lunch every time they play them. Yes. And whether that is in LA or Arizona, it doesn't seem to matter.
They really do own them. So, yeah, if you want to take the Rams, I'm fine with that. Absolutely.
That's the side that I saw. I like your side as well. I think that's all we got on that game. Let's cruise on down. Ooh, this one's going to be fun. The Sunday night event right across the street from where I'm sitting right now. I literally look out the window into the parking lot here, so tailgating will be interesting on Sunday. We've got the Niners up against the Broncos. The Broncos have looked very, very disappointing early on. The Niners looked exactly how I expected them to week 1 versus the Bears. And then we had a Trey Lance injury, and the Niners are now the team I thought they were going to be by the end of the season.
Exactly.
Which is probably good for the Niners. I think they're much better constructed this way for the way that they want to operate their offense. And there was just going to be growing pains with the Trey Lance sort of kind of fitting into the offense there. And maybe that takes away from some of the receivers. I see that we had Brandon Ayuk sightings all over the field when Jimmy G came back. I'm not sure what he was doing before, but I just felt like I wasn't seeing his name as often. So 49ers Broncos, what do we got here?
I like the 49ers cover. I'm sorry. I know you're in Denver and they're your team out there, but I'm going to go with the Niners. They've covered 6 of 7. Overall, you mentioned Denver hasn't looked good. I think Nathaniel Hackett seems like a deer in the headlights coaching right now. He seems a little in over his head. Russell plays like he's like superstar Hollywood has made it. Like he's gotten paid. He's got the pop star, it just seems like he could go 0 for 15 and he wouldn't blink an eye. So I'm not too convicted in the attitude with Denver right now. They've also lost 5 of 6 games overall. I'm with you too. Jimmy G makes this team much better. And so I think they're a Super Bowl contender with Jimmy G. Give me the Niners to cover this game. I think they do it pretty easily, if I'm being honest.
You did not hurt my feelings one bit. As I stated earlier, I am an Eagles fan. So I was born and raised, at least born on the East Coast in the Lancaster County Amish country area. So I did a lot of time down at the vet watching those guys get smashed into the concrete with the very thin AstroTurf. But the Broncos, it's looking rough. I'm not excited for anything I've seen out of that team so far. I agree with you, and I've heard some of that around the local media here in Denver, that the deer in the headlights comment, and they described it as more of like there's a lot of newness. You changed a lot of moving parts. Sometimes it takes some time to tune all of those parts into place until it's a perfect rotation. And right now they're just missing a few things, and it's not working out. I do think one thing you said was very interesting. Now that we have just a few extra minutes, as we're down to 2 games, the Russ Wilson aspect. He's almost ascended to that celebrity status with his wife. So he kind of lost some of that hunger to prove it or do it himself, maybe. I'm not exactly sure where all that comes from, but you're right. He doesn't seem as disappointed or as hungry to fix his error as you would think he would.
He lost his edge is what it seems like. And that's kind of what got him the starting gig in Seattle to begin with.
So my fear in this game is I think both teams are going to be able to run the ball. I'm not sure Denver's going to be able to throw the ball as well as Jimmy's going to be able to throw the ball against Denver. So I'll take 49ers to cover. That sounds like a great bet for me.
Like that Russell Wilson. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Dark Knight Rises. It's like that scene where Bane says decency has cost you strength. That's what I think of with Russell Wilson right now. He needs to find that fire.
That's interesting. You can't be a CEO if you're not a killer. And, there's some truth to that too. We got one more game left on the list. It is going to be our Monday nighter. It is definitely going to be exciting. And the only reason it's exciting is because I'm pretty sure an hour or two ago, I saw Jerry Jones made a comment that said, if Cooper Rush can win 10 games, Dak Prescott is gone. Did I just hear that?
Wow, probably because Dak's so injury prone and Jerry's tired of paying the medical bills.
I'm pretty sure right before we came on, I heard that on ESPN, and then the reporter asked Jerry if he wants that kind of drama or excitement, and he said, well, yeah, that's 2 10-win quarterbacks. Of course he wants that problem. That's a good problem to have. So Jerry's an interesting guy. The Cowboys are an interesting team. I'm once again an Eagles fan, so I'd love to see them lose absolutely every single year. This is a game where I'd love to see both of them lose, and that just can't happen. So somebody's going to have to win. Who is that going to be, Thom?
Oh, boy. I mean, everything tells you it's Dallas, to be honest, but I don't trust it because it's a road divisional game with a backup quarterback against a team that's 2-0 and playing, I would argue, with more good aggressive energy than any other team in the NFL right now. Like there's a lot of energy in this. Like they're all wired in coffee right now. They're just like so amped for every single game. And it starts with Dayball. And I really like Dayball. And what convinced me with him was when he got into Daniel Jones's grill in week 1, when he threw the pick in the fourth quarter when the Giants went going down the field and you thought it was over. He got in his face and he's like yelling at him, jawing at him, really just telling him he needs to get his SHIT together. And so then you saw what happened. They drove the ball down the field. I mean, Saquon did a lot of the heavy lifting. But the point is, this team rallied around Dayball. Everyone but Kenny Golladay seems happy in that team right now. So I'm fine with the Giants. If you like the Giants, let's ride the Magic in MetLife. And then they get Chicago at home in week 4. They could go 4-0. So this is kind of nuts. I don't know if I'm going to take it, though. I don't have a ton of conviction in this. I might do a player prop on Monday. Come find me Monday. But I don't know. I think there's something about this Giants team that I like right now.
Yeah, I want to throw a lot of the Dallas trends out the window because we have a quarterback and we don't have the receivers. We don't have the team that a lot of those numbers are going to come from. Depending on how far back you went for those numbers, we wouldn't have any of them. But you understand what I'm saying. We lost a good bit of last year's team. We don't even have the same parts we started this year with 2 games in. The fact that Cooper Rush is the quarterback really makes me not want to fall into any of the trending on this game. And this is also the backside of a game where I thought something was overreacted. So I felt like I also thought it was a trap to have the Bengals come down and just be like everybody's darling. They're on the road. They're going to smash Dallas. That was kind of that was a gambling trap in my opinion. I just wasn't sold that was going to be the way it went. So I totally wasn't surprised when Dallas pulled out the win. But this is a spot where I think now Dallas is being overvalued. Are they that good because they beat the Bengals? Probably not. And I think Giants are still undervalued. And I agree with a lot of things that you said. I think Saquon being back and being that workhorse that you mentioned is also good. And do we have a good tight end in New York again? Is the Bellinger kid going to be a stud? First touchdown last week. We're about to find out if he's going to be a stud or not, but that's going to be a nice weapon to have in the middle of the field with the other weapons they have on the outside in the backfield. The Giants could actually put up some wins.
And I see the over-under at 39.5. I might actually go under for, Dallas's defense to me is top-notch when Micah Parsons. If Micah Parsons is starting on that defense, I think they're top 5 in the NFL. Then you got Cooper Rush, who isn't, he's a backup. And then Daniel Jones, who just struggles mightily. So I think the under is an okay play here. The under has hit for New York in 11 of 13 games overall. The Giants have gone under in 5 straight home games. The 2 games in MetLife so far this year have both gone under, so only 34 points are being scored per game in East Rutherford so far this year. And then actually I said 5 straight games for the Giants at home have gone under. This actually goes extension into 12 of their last 13 home games have gone under. So I think the under is okay here as well.
I would agree with you there. I mean, Dable wants to win this game. And you would agree that probably the best way to win this game is going to be to mitigate the Cowboys' time with the ball, mitigate time in the game, period. Just run that clock out. Don't let Daniel Jones make the mistakes. So try and limit how many times he has to throw the ball. Maybe limit how deep your routes are. Maybe you're just going to do more dump offs, whatever the defense is going to allow you. But I don't think you're really going to want to put your neck out there and let them romp you, which is possible. So I think the under is probably where we're going to be here, because I think we're just going to see a lot of running and clock management from the Giants.
I completely agree.
Sounds good to me. Well, I think that's the last game we have. We went through. We are going to put together hopefully more wins than we put together losses. It was a great first episode of Behind the Lines, Thom. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, absolutely. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back here next week at the same time. I hope you guys like it. Thanks. Have a good one.